And there's a split among the proxies, because unlike the British Empire and the French Empire, which it's replacing in the region, the American Empire hasn't until recently ruled by direct physical presence. It's ruled by proxy: Israel, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey. In order then, the Israelis wouldn't mind a Lebanized Iraq. They didn't mind a Lebanized Lebanon if it came to that. They wouldn't mind a Lebanized Middle East. They want to take other Arab countries' nationalist challengers off the chessboard. Who wouldn't? If they want a greater Israel, they'll need to do that. Why you should pay for this is a question I don't know whether you ever ask yourself. I don't know what answer you come up with when you do. You are paying for it anyway, so you should ask. At any rate, that's going on in parallel too. They would like that. The Saudis don't want that. Saudi Arabia doesn't need a Lebanized Iraq on its border. So it's against. Big argument in Washington between the Saudi faction of the government and the Israeli faction. Very big argument. The Iranians don't exactly have a faction in Washington anymore, though they used to, in the person of Oliver North and so on, but they have friends. And the Iranians would like not the Lebanization of Iraq, but a Shia Muslim protectorate in the south under Iranian protection. Sponsorship. Saudis don't want that either. They're a Sunni Muslim dictatorship. They don't want a Shia Muslim hive off, and they don't want it on their border. This is my last 30 seconds, sir. The Turks would like to take a greater interest in a Kurdish protectorate in Iraq, but they want to know how to do it without giving ideas to their own Kurds. Thus, I think I have aptly described to you the situation among your imperial proxies. While they squabble, Iraq dies, and reverts to barbarism and strife and misery and disease and tries to bury its dead. And this is what it is to have an empire.
Now, before we go to your questions, each of our guests will have a chance to ask a question of each other, if they so choose. We'll take 5 minutes of an exchange on those. And then after that, we'll go to your questions. Since Mr. Kondracke started the summaries, we'll allow Mr. Hitchens to have the first question. Mr. Hitchens, do you have a question for Mr. Kondracke?
If I'd known I was going to have this chance, but I won't pass it up all the same. I tell you what I've always wanted to ask him, and what is made relevant this evening is this. Do you think, Morton, that America can be both an empire and a democratic republic at the same time? If you think that, why do you think it would be the first country to pull off that double? And if you don't think it can, which of the two would you choose?
By any definition that the world has ever known of empire, which I include the country which Christopher's magazine has been cheering for these past 70 years, the Soviet Union, the United States is not. It's a fact. It is a fact. The United States is not an empire. We do not have our troops stationed in countries where we are not welcome. Wait just a second. Where do we have our, just a minute now. Where do we have our troops? Just a minute.
Cuba.
We have our troops in the Philippines. Exactly so. We have our troops in the Philippines by agreement. We have our troops in Japan by agreement. We have our troops in Korea by agreement. We have our troops I've covered the Philippines.
Let him
we have
answer,
an agreement.
please.
Now that the Philippines don't want us there anymore, we are going to go away. Right? Look, your country does not go around the world decimating other cultures. It does not do it. We have no troops in Nicaragua.
Well, he's asking for an answer. Okay. All right.
Now, so my point is that what we have is a democracy. It is the most distinguished great civilization that has ever existed on the face of the earth. It provides more liberty, more opportunity, freer speech than any other country of its size and power that has ever existed on the face of the earth, and it presumes and the whole world would like what we have. It would like our economic wealth, it would like our freedom, and gradually, but gradually, Eastern Europe, the Soviet Union, Latin America is all coming around in this direction because it understands that that's where opportunity lies. Now, occasionally it is necessary for us to defend our interests. We have defended our interests a few times since the end of World War II. We have not always defended our interests in the most honorable way possible, but generally speaking, over the last 40 years, we have attacked only in a counterattack. We have used. Fidel Castro has never had an election in the entire time that he's been in power,
okay.
And he has tortured his own population and decimated his own population.
All right, let me jump in here.
So the point of the matter is, the answer to your question is that I would choose, if I had to choose between them, and I do choose between them, a democracy, not an empire. The United States is not an empire by any accounting of the normal word empire. Now,
okay.
It's my turn to ask a question.
Yes, Mr. Kondracke.
I don't understand what your bottom line is here. Samir el-Khalil does not want us never to have conducted this war at all. What he wanted was for us to pursue the war. He wants us this minute to pursue the war all the way to Baghdad, decimating in the process however many people we have to kill in order to get to Baghdad and capture Baghdad. Now, we stopped the war. George Bush, I think, wrongly stopped the war at the end of February. He did not chase the Republican Guards who are now killing off the Shiites and killing off the Kurds. We did not bomb them. We cut the bombing off. Now, you claim that it's in order to keep Hitler in power. I think that's ludicrous. But what I'm asking you, Christopher, is, are you in favor of sending the United States Army to capture Baghdad? That seems to be what you're in favor of. And how many people will that kill?
No, I'm not in favor of that.
Well, what are you in favor of?
I wasn't in favor of occupation of any part of the territory of Iraq to begin with. My point about Khalil was this. He's an interesting guy. As you know, Samir Khalil isn't his real name because he has to write in anonymity as an Iraqi dissident. He's I think, becoming rather a sad figure. He's a lifetime Iraqi communist, as a matter of fact. I do know who he is. I know what his real name is. He's a member of the Higher Committee of the Iraqi Communist Party, a group that suffered a great deal from Saddam Hussein. He's subject to the warping of judgment that can come from a lifetime of Iraqi communism. And he staked his claim on the United States fighting the war it said it was going to fight for the reasons it said it was going to fight them. And he's now in a horrifying position and is trying to make sense of it. His country has been devastated and is faced with a renewal of the worst kind of sectarian and religious conflict, if not dismemberment from outside powers. He thinks the only way to make that worthwhile is to press on with it and have an American occupation of his capital city. I think he's lost his mind. I think that there are good reasons why the United States doesn't do that, but these are good reasons why it shouldn't have gone this far before stopping. In other words, as with the Dresden and the Hitler thing, one or the other, baby, but not both.
All right. That's the exchange for this part of the program. We're going to move to the question and answer section in just a moment here. You might want to line up behind the microphone. There's either one or two of them at the back of the room. I guess there's just one. One note about sort of protocol. Since we do have a microphone, let's try and limit the amount of response from the floor, okay, for whoever happens to be speaking at the time.
I guess directed to both of you. I agree, Mr. Kondracke, with the idea of national interest, but I wonder what the national interest has been in this war in terms of, perhaps if you would say our national interest is peaceful access to oil, free access to oil, stable Middle East. I don't see where this war is anything but a blip in a long range of misapplied policies going back to 1948.